Alright, so you recall from the other day that we can use FOIL to expand and simplify. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the first term times the first term. That's going to give me my f of FOIL. Then I'm going to do the outside term, so that's going to be 2x times 2. Then I'm going to do the inside terms, which is 3 times x. And I'll do the last terms, which is 3 times negative 2. When you're doing your work, please make sure to line up your work in a nice straight line, so vertically lined up. What's 2x times x? It's 2x squared. What's the next part of FOIL? So now we're going to do this part right here. So we're going to do what's 2x times negative 2? That's negative 4x, because 2 times 2 is 4, and there's a negative sign. What's 3 times x? And that's positive 3x. And finally, what's positive 3 times negative 2? And that would be negative 6. I next take my terms that can be dealt with, and we can do that math because they're like terms. 2x squared, negative 4 plus positive 3 makes negative 1x minus 6. And that would be, this step right here would count as my expanding, and this step right here would count as simplifying. Okay, here's the exact same question, except this time with algebra tiles. So the first thing I need to think about is I look here, I see what's x times x, and I know that x times x is x squared. I repeat it. I then do what's x times positive 1, and I'm going to get, I'm going to duplicate this piece here. So I know that x times 1 is positive x, and x times 1 is positive x, and x times 1 is positive x. So I've done that 3 times now. The next thing I'm going to do, and sorry if my algebra tiles don't fit perfectly, is the next step is I'm now going to do x times negative 1, which makes negative x. I'll just keep working down, so I'll do what's 1 times negative 1 times x, the same. And what's 1 times negative 1? Negative 1. 1 times negative 1, negative 1. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. The next thing I'm going to do is I'll do the next column. So I'm now working in this column right here. I'm going to do this to start. So what's negative 1 times x? And that's, negative x. And negative x. And I'll do my 1s again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little summary table just to summarize what I've done here. So the first thing I'm going to summarize, I'm going to make a little square. I'm going to summarize all the terms that are alike. So the first thing I'm going to start with is this quadrant right here. And I'm sure you'll all agree that that is 2x squared. Next thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at right over here, and I'm going to know that that's negative 4x. I'm going to look down here, and I know that that's positive 3x. And finally, I'm going to count all my 1s down here, and I know that that is negative 6. We can now write it out as 2x squared minus 4x plus 3x minus 6, which equals 2x squared minus x minus 6. And you get the exact same answer. One more example before we go, and this time I'm going to not draw out FOIL, but I'll just kind of get going. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go first times the first, so that's 2x squared. The next thing I'm going to do is 2x times negative 3, so positive 2 times negative 3 makes negative 6x. Next I'm going to go negative 1 times x makes negative 1x, and I'll do the last step, which is negative 1 multiplied by negative 3. Negative times a negative is a positive, and 1 times 3 is 3. I now simplify, and I can simplify these two terms right here because they're like. And I know that negative 6 minus 1 makes negative 7x plus 3, and now it's simplified. And you're done. Once again, the exact same question from before. I just have done it with algebra tiles. Oops. That's not going away on me there. I'll just kind of keep going here. So that's x times x makes x squared. I'm going to repeat it. So x times x makes x squared. Next thing I'm going to do is I'll get this piece over here, except I got to rotate it in. This is going to be a little messy. Not terrible, right? So now we've got that column done, so I'm just working down the column. So next I'm going to do this column. So what's -1 times x? And that's, there we go. And then I repeat. And again. And again. I'm just dealing with all my x terms right now. And finally, what is -1 times -1? And it's going to be +1. And again, I repeat it. And again, I repeat it. So I can make that little summary table I did last time really quickly. Let's see if I can get that line to go away now. There we go. So I'll draw my little table. I'm going to summarize each of our quadrants. So here's my one quadrant, if this helps you out with the table of how I'm drawing it. So in this quadrant right here, we've got 2 x squared tiles. In this quadrant right here, I've got 1 x, but don't forget it's blue, so that's going to be negative. I've got 6 negative tiles here, and they're the x tiles, and I've got 3 +1 tiles. So I write it out, 2x squared minus 6x minus 1x plus 3. And the final step I do now is I need to simplify that. So that equals 2x squared minus 7x plus 3.